Look, I'm going to give this movie a chance when I go see it, but I'm not expecting anything good out of it.
Look, I'm going to give this movie a chance when I go see it.
Thank God this universe is over, man. Hey, what is up, guys? Lee here. Today, I'm bringing you my review for The Flash. We have finally made it to the end game. Since 2016 or 2015 or whenever this movie was first announced during the Snyderverse situation. And then the timeline of directors, writers, a lot of whole production halts, COVID. We are finally here. Was the wait worth it? Was Tom Cruise and Stephen King talking bullshit, praising this film, acting like it's the Messiah, the return of Jesus Christ of filmmaking, or of superhero genre as a whole? No. I'm just gonna get that out of the way. No, it's not. Obviously, actors, just celebrities in general, they always have to spout bullshit when they're paid, because obviously, those reports, if you follow Discussing Films on Twitter, which I suggest you do, there's been, reports saying that during the fan screenings before this movie was officially released, that the audience got the unfinished work for the VFX, and with the post-credit scene and all that. I would like to ask you, the people who got to see it early, and if you have watched the movie again by this time, did the VFX change at all? I'm sorry, but did it change at all? That is just a genuine question I have. Because if that was the unfinished version, I don't know what the hell this was. I know I'm already coming swinging out the gate, already thinking this is going to be a negative review. I'm going to start with the positives. Then, make my way towards into the negatives. Because you know what? I gave this movie a chance. I did. I didn't go in hating. I went in this only thinking about how good Michael Keaton would be in this movie. And for Supergirl. Outside of that, don't care. But there were some surprises along the way. Starting off with my pros. Michael Keaton. Return of Michael Keaton's Batman, was the most anticipated thing since, news broke out that he would be in this film. They did right by him through this movie. They did. At first, in my opinion, it's a subjective point of view of how you would like that character to, be reintroduced into from years reprising his role. But it's not gonna be for everybody. I kind of didn't like it, but I enjoyed it throughout the film. Then there's Sasha Calle. Sorry if I butchered the last name. I don't know. But her as Supergirl, she's not in it a lot through this movie. Really, throughout the promotion, she's mostly shown about that much through the trailers. She did good. She did all right. It's not enough for me to say I want her back as Supergirl, but she did good. I wouldn't mind if she came back to reprise the role for the new DCU. Third pro, and this is going to come as a shocker, but Ezra Miller. Ezra being the more experienced Barry in this movie, he did a lot. He did a good amount of acting. He really brought a lot of emotion through this film, and mostly connecting with him and his mom because, the whole Flashpoint story revolves around his mom. There's no way you can obviously mess that up. But they did good. They stuck the landing on that, which leads into my next segment, which is the story itself, Flashpoint. Because obviously this movie is taking inspiration of Flashpoint. Now, is it doing a one-for-one version of Flashpoint? Obviously, no. It's not. I did really... It hit home well with me with Barry and his relationship with his mother. Because as everybody knows, for Barry Allen, his biggest tragedy is the death of his mom. And obviously, him going back in time through Flashpoint and screwing everything up for everybody else, and ironically for his mom, the message about letting go through this movie is I didn't expect it to hit me kind of hard like a train. Because as we all know, when it comes to loved ones who we've lost, people that in our life that really meant a lot to us, it will get you in this movie. It will. For like, if you take away about all the action from Flashpoint, Reverse Flash versus Barry aspect, what really drives that whole story about it is Barry having to let go of the death of his mom, something that he could never get over, which is really great. No matter what you say about the CW version of the show, Grant Gustin nailed it out of the fucking park for that whole Flashpoint arc. And so did Ezra Miller. So I'm gonna give Ezra Miller props for that. Now, that being said, I'm going to move into the next segment, which is the cons. This movie had a lot more bad than it did good. At first, it was starting to get a little good, and then it just drastically kept dropping down a lot. Unexperienced Barry, or Barry number 2, which obviously you watch in the trailers, he meets his past self, his younger self. Barry number 2, I get it. You know, because they do a joke about it because, you know, how Ezra was annoying in Justice League and a little bit in Justice League as well, where he was too, you know, trying to be too funny, like, you know, the next Tom Holland Spider-Man kind of vibes. But they, like, once you get the joke, they keep driving that character to be more insufferable throughout the whole movie. I was literally getting so annoyed by Barry number 2. Like, I got the joke, right? I don't want to spend 2 hours throughout this film having to deal with a dumbass Barry for just cheap laughs. Obviously, you know, other Barry's not just for cheap laughs. He is something that, you know, is supposed to drive the story a little bit further towards the end, which I have a little bit of a problem with, which I will get into a little bit later. I'll have a spoiler segment somewhere around the video here. But anyways, going back on topic, yeah, I didn't enjoy Barry number 2. I felt like he was so annoying and I wanted to rip my ears out. Comedy in this, it's more misses than hits, in my opinion. When it comes to comedy, like Spider-Verse did really great on comedy. You know, Andy Muschietti, he did great with comedy in It, right? But, you know, for this movie, it did not hit. There were a lot of misses. But I did kind of chuckle at some parts, I'm saying. Not all, just a little. Then we get to the CGI. What has happened to Hollywood with their VFX nowadays? Like, seriously, like, I really want to know how we went from, you know, great CGI in movies like Iron Man, which was in 2008, Tron Legacy. What happened? Like, I know COVID was, like, tough for most people, but you can't use the excuse COVID, you know, had a long-term effect. No, it's these studios that, you know, underpay their workers and give them too tight of a deadline to finish on their work. Not just that, but gaining other studios to do their work and just try to mesh it all together, which never ends up being good. Just go back to the basic, like how you guys did it before. Because obviously the CGI back then was 10 times better. Because throughout this movie, like literally, it transitions from like camera movements into like PlayStation events that you would see. Like literally, I did some reaction videos for like Spider-Man and all that when they dived into gameplay. That is literally how I felt while watching this movie at some points, where it just like transitioned into gameplay. Okay, and now speaking about CGI, I will get onto the pressing issue of what they do in this movie, in the spoiler section. Oh, and you know, third act, it falls really flat on the third act. With all that being out of the way, I'm going to move into the spoiler section so I can get what I need to say out of my mouth. God, the CGI is so terrible through this movie. The shit they do with the CGI in this movie is so disrespectful. Like, I'm gonna pull up the clip of Mr. Krabs saying this.
Am I really gonna defile this grave for money? Of course I am!
Yeah, that's literally what happens. It happens with Christopher Reeves. Yeah, they literally CGI'd Christopher Reeves in this movie. For like, glup shitto cameo applause. And it is the most disrespectful thing I could ever imagine. Now, don't get me wrong. If Marvel did that, and I don't know if they have at this point. Maybe they did and I just didn't notice. But if they ever do that with Stan Lee or any of the other actors, especially Chadwick, I'm gonna fucking lose it. Seriously, companies should not be doing this. Even with the signing off with their families, their loved ones. If they signed off on it, good. They can sign off on it, but morally it's fucked up. I don't care if a family member did sign off on it. I think it's kind of morally fucked up. But that being said, that's just a subjective opinion. And then there were some other cameos in here that just look, Jesus Christ, so bad. Like, what the fuck? Because obviously in this movie, the CGI just went right towards Ezra playing two Barrys. Because literally when you see Ezra's face on both bodies in the same shot, it looks so clean, so good. But outside of everything else, it's dog shit. For the most part. It's like Thor Love and Thunder floating head bad. Actually, you know what? This is a great time to bring this up. I'm gonna play a clip to perfectly summarize the CGI in this movie.
Hello, Peter.
Then we get to the big villain, the reveal of the villain, which it's not, shocker, it's not Zod. It was Barry number 2, where he shows up as a darker Flash, which they only showed it like once Barry number 1 went back in time and never showed him again after that until the very end, and then just dies. I felt like that was the most waste of time right there. Like, why introduce that, the real villain, when we obviously know, you know, Barry number 2 could have just been the villain because his emotions are just not comparable to Barry number 1. You didn't need to bring in a future Barry number 2 into this. You just didn't. So I give this movie a 4.5 out of 10. Anyways, guys, there you have it. There is my full review for The Flash. If I have anything positive to say, it's this. Go support Spider-Verse, The Blackening, Transformers, hell, even Little Mermaid. I honestly think you'd have a better time watching those movies, again, than The Flash. But that's just my opinion. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below. I'll see you guys next time. See ya.